Your business, your rules. Grow a business that works for you. This is the Her Business Podcast. Hello. Welcome to the Her Business Podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis. I'm your host. I'm also the CEO at Her Business, and I am currently in Austin, Texas, taking part in the annual South by Southwest Innovation Festival. This is a week-long event. Hundreds of thousands of people attend, and it is thought leaders and business experts and innovators and inventors from all sorts of industries coming together to share ideas. And my brain is exploding. It's day 5 and I've still got 3 more days. And I will be sharing some of the things that I've learned. But today's episode is an Ask Susie episode. In these episodes, I directly answer questions or challenges that women business owners reach out to me with. And I want to dive right into this one because today's question is really juicy and it's something that I feel every business owner will deal with at some point. And so here is the challenge. This is a direct quote. There is only so much I can do to make money. I can't rely on anyone else to support me. Others let me down. They don't have the same motivation. 1 minute, things are going gangbusters, and then it all feels like it's falling apart. Wow, right? Who hasn't thought that? That in order to grow my business, in order for tasks to be done right, I have to do a bunch of it myself. I just can't rely on anyone else because no one's as invested in my business as I am, and they just don't have the same motivation. And in this instance, this person had a team and then someone left and then a second person left, threw her right back into doing the day-to-day tasks, right back in the weeds, and she was just really disheartened. And I know I've certainly been there. And the thing is, even if you have a team, you can still feel like you're the only person that you can rely on 100%. Now that mindset, even though it was a very real experience for that entrepreneur, that mindset and that reality are really the polar opposite of having a leveraged business. Leverage is about doing less but getting more results. It's about spending less time but getting greater returns on every minute that you spend in your business. And one of the biggest opportunities for leverage that you have as a business owner is having a team that truly works smoothly and efficiently. So not a team that you have to chase, not a team that you have to do their work over for them, not a team that creates more stress than it relieves, but a team that takes things off your plate, that runs with a clear direction, that allows you to step back into the work that only you can do. So if that sounds like Fantasyland, then this episode is for you. Because if the thought, it's easier to do it myself or I just can't rely on anyone else, are phrases that reflect your business, that is the sign of an unsustainable and an unleveraged business. So let's talk about how to fix that. So today I want to offer you a different way of looking at this because in most cases, and I say this with all my love, the problem usually isn't the team. It's something else entirely. When a founder feels like, there's lots of F's in that sentence, when a founder feels like she can't rely on her team, it's really easy to point to the team as the issue. Maybe I haven't hired the right person. Maybe I haven't found the right fit for this role. Maybe my business is different. Maybe the right people just don't exist. But in my experience, working with thousands of women business owners over the years, what's really happening is a problem that is a mix of actually 4 things: leadership, systems, mindset, and then team. So the first thing I just mentioned is leadership. When the owner is still too involved in the day-to-day work, she hasn't stepped fully into the role of leader yet. She's still the doer. The second is systems, and I'll dive more into each of these in a moment. But the second is systems. There are very few documented or repeatable processes in the business, which means team members have to guess or ask all the time and get under your feet or figure things out on their own, which means the results can be quite inconsistent. The third is mindset. And what I mean is that many founders carry a deeply held belief that they must do everything or a lot of the things themselves. And I've been guilty of this. And I know that perhaps you've been guilty of this. And this mindset that no one will care about the business as much as they do, it's not really helpful. And the mindset continues to this idea of if I let go even just a little bit, things are going to start to unravel before too long. The fourth area is hiring. And this is the one most people jump to, believing it's the problem. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes the wrong person is in a role or the role itself hasn't been clearly defined. Now, these 4 things that I just mentioned Leadership, systems, mindset, and hiring, they compound each other. They're not mutually exclusive. And when they're together, that is what creates the feeling of, I just can't rely on anyone else. So, leadership, systems, mindset, hiring. And do you notice something, anything about those 4 things? Only one of them is about the team. The last thing I said, hiring. The other 3 start with and end with you, which can feel a little confronting at first, but in truth, this is actually great news for you, because if the problem was entirely about your team, you're kind of stuck because it's out of your control. You'd have to just keep on hiring and firing and hoping that the next person will finally be right. But if the problem starts with leadership and systems and mindset, those are things that you can change. Those are things within your control. Now, inside of Her Business, we named 2026 the year of leverage. Real leverage, the kind that gives you your time back, that lets your business run without you being the center of everything. That sort of thinking, that requires a shift in who you are as the leader. And here's the pattern I see most often. Early in our business journey, success comes from doing everything, solving problems quickly, being deeply involved in the work. That's how we build something from nothing, right? That hustle and hands-on involvement and passion is what got us here. But once you have a team, your role has to shift. And this can be extremely disconcerting for many business owners. You shift from doing all the work to setting the direction. You shift from solving every problem to instead creating clarity. You shift from being involved in everything to building systems and developing people, which, yes, is a role shift, but it's also a shift in your identity, and that can be hard. And it doesn't happen automatically. No one teaches us how to be a great leader. In fact, for most founders, that shift doesn't happen until something forces it. Either the business grows beyond what you thought it would, or more people join. But the founder keeps leading the way she always has, being hands-on and involved and doing a lot of it herself. And because of that, the business slowly and quietly but surely hits a ceiling. And that's not because there aren't enough clients in the market, or because your offers aren't great, or your product isn't worthwhile, or your marketing isn't spot on, but it happens because the business has outgrown the way the owner is currently leading it. And I had to learn this the hard way. The identity you had when you started your business is not the identity that you need to grow and scale it. The skills that built the business are not the skills you need to scale it. One of the new skills we have to learn to step into this new identity of a leader is delegation. And I know you've heard, yes, you need to delegate. And it sounds kind of simple to hand off tasks and watch them get done. But that's not often the reality, as we all know. This is where the most frustration comes in, because without the right leadership, systems, and mindset, the cycle goes like this. You delegate a task, the task isn't completed, or more likely it's not done to the level of excellence that you would have done it. And then you follow up and ask for it to be done again, or you just get the work back and you redo the work yourself. And this repeats again and again. After it's repeated so many times, you stop delegating, because it starts to feel like the act of delegating and managing and following up takes much more time and effort than just doing it yourself. So here are the fundamental elements of delegation as a good skill. The first thing is outcomes. You might be delegating with unclear outcomes. So the team member is given a task, but not a clear picture of what success looks like in that task. What is the standard? What is the deadline? And if those outcomes aren't defined, the result is never going to live up to your expectations. So you want to be defining those things ahead of giving the task. The second is fragmented instructions. And now this is a big one, and it happens when we hand over tasks in pieces without explaining the full picture. And sometimes we do this because we think, oh, there's only so much that they need at this point, or I don't want them to run away with this task, so I'll just give them a little bit. But we need to explain the full picture, the context, the why. Your job as the leader is to give the vision in your head to your team, the complete vision, because if your team member has only fragments, they might get the task done and do as they're told, but they still miss the point entirely because they don't have the bigger picture. Why it's even important for this task to be completed, what impact this task has on the business's results, what impact they, as a cog in the overall wheel, and I don't mean that to dehumanize anyone, but their role in the business, what impact does it have? And third, we have to get about are really clear about the definition of what done is. Now, you likely have an idea in your head of what the finished result looks like for a delegated task, but your team member, especially if they're just learning the task or the role, might have another. So remember to take time before admonishing someone to make sure that they have a clear picture of what done looks like. Not three-quarter done, not lobbed back in your court, but complete. And make sure that your picture and your team member's picture, they actually match, they actually align. Or does the team member need the definition explained in more detail so that the outcome will match what you had in mind? And when delegation fails repeatedly, it's easy to throw your hands up and say your team just doesn't get it. But what's really missing is those 3 clarity pieces. What are the outcomes? Does the team have the bigger, fuller picture? And do the definitions of done actually line up? Now, I want to look a little deeper at what we're saying here, because there's a piece to this conversation that isn't talked about enough that directly influences how you're able to lead your team. Now, many founders struggle to fully step into an authoritative role, and there are good reasons for that. I tripped over that word, authoritative role. And there are good reasons for that, and that is we want to be liked. We often don't relish having difficult conversations. I don't know anyone who finds them fun. We didn't start a business to become a manager. We don't want to be a dictator. So we tip to the opposite end to avoid those things. And this is where lines can get blurry between being a friend and being a leader, between being a collaborator and being the decision maker, between being supportive and being really clear. When really leadership is far more nuanced. It's not black and white, because healthy leadership doesn't mean you have to remove all collaboration. It doesn't mean you can't develop relationships with your team members or ask them about their weekend or about their personal life. It doesn't mean you have to act like someone you're not or become cold or distant in order to gain their respect and their authority. But it does mean holding the vision for the business, the vision for a project, the vision for you as a leader, and really setting the direction and being clear about what is open to input and also what is not. And now this isn't about being demanding or stern. This is about giving your team a clear and confident leader to follow, which is what your team actually wants. They want to know exactly where the business is going and help to get there. They want to know what's expected so that they can do their jobs well. They want to have clarity and structure on what a job well done looks like. They want to succeed. And they don't want to be left guessing or assuming. And when you've made that shift fully and consciously from being the person who does the work to being the person who creates the environment where the work gets done well by others, then you've become a great leader. Things move without you. The team stops waiting for you. Things get done when you're not there. Your team becomes a reliable support behind you. And you, for the first time, can actually step back without everything falling apart. That is leverage. So how do you start making that identity shift? Here is where I start. And those of you who are members of Her Business will hear me say this all the time. It starts with a vision. Your team cannot move confidently without knowing where the business is going. So don't keep your vision tucked away in your head. Tell them, share with them, show them exactly how they fit into that bigger picture. Because if people are dropping balls or missing deadlines or seeming unmotivated, ask yourself, have I actually communicated the vision clearly? Do they know what we're building here? Do they understand the bigger picture of why their work matters? And if the answer to any of that is no, or even maybe, or I told them the business mission during onboarding, but I haven't touched it since, there you go. That's your starting point. We all want to feel like we are part of something. We all want to feel like our days, the time we spent at work, is valuable. We all want to feel like we contribute to a greater cause, and your team needs that vision as much as you do. I know you have a vision in your head, so share it, define it, get excited about it, and then watch it happen with people at your back who do care as much as you do about seeing that vision become realized. So vision is first. The second thing is systems. I want you to pick a recurring task in your business that you've been doing yourself or that you keep having to fix, and write down every step involved in doing that task well. And you might think, oh gosh, I've been through this process. We have systems. Great. If something keeps landing back in your lap, there is a gap in the system. What does the finished result look like? What is the standard? What is the process? Now, have you shared that system with the team member who is going to be responsible for it? A team member, singular, right? If nobody owns a task, nobody owns it. Do they know what those steps are? Do they know what the finished result looks like? Do they know the process to get to that result? Because if they don't, no wonder you've had to step in or take over from them. And once you document these systems and ensure your team understands the systems, boom. Now they can be done with clarity and intention. And if they aren't, or if things continue to be done below the stated standard, then maybe it is an issue with a particular team member. Then look at that. But not before you've looked at the system, the training, the vision, or being in place. Just getting those things right can really turn around how people operate within your business. And then you want to honestly assess your delegation. The next time you hand something off, ask yourself, did I actually give a clear outcome? Did I define what done looks like? Do I give people the context that they need to do something well? And if you find, oh, well, you know what, maybe I didn't, then you know that the delegation problem is in that part of the process, and that can be fixed. Remember that creating leverage in your business relies on those 4 big themes that I mentioned at the top of this episode: leadership, systems, mindset, all things that you have control over, and then finally team. And at a certain stage of business growth, the challenge isn't working harder. It really is learning to lead differently, and that takes new skill sets. The business owners who do unlock that real leverage, who build businesses that don't depend entirely on them, and not the people who found, a mythical perfect team, that doesn't exist. But there are founders who became the type of leader their specific team needed, and that's the real work for us as leaders at this stage. And it's often the hardest transition point because it's also some of the most rewarding work you'll do in your business. I know that I did not get into business to manage people or to lead people. And that's the shift I had to make. I'm not managing people, I'm leading people. So how do I step into this role of leader? And it's incredible to help your people grow and step into their roles fully. It's inspiring to see them care for your business the way that you do. And most importantly, it is essential for moving forward and growing into the future business that you want without feeling like you have to do it all yourself. So this was an Ask Susie episode. I have a couple more details for you before we go. I love doing these Q&A style formats. So if you have a specific question that you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, you can either go to one of our social media channels. We're at Her Business on Facebook and on Instagram, and send us a direct message, or you can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. I would love to help you. And remember, if you have a specific question or challenge, there are likely thousands of other women business owners dealing with the same thing. So by answering your question here, it goes beyond helping your business. We are helping anyone who listens to this podcast. So whether they're a regular listener or they stumble across this particular episode. So thank you for listening. If you're not part of the Her Business Network and would like to join our community, I encourage you to head over to herbusinessnetwork.com and apply now. And I'm going to put links to things I've referenced here today over on the show notes page at herbusiness.com/353. Now, I want to shout out one of our fabulous Her Business podcast listeners and recommend an episode for you. So the listener is Suzanne Bell. She's a researcher. She listened to episode 345. That episode is called The Secrets to Speaking with Impact, Confidence and Presence as a Small Business Owner. Now, a little bit about Susan. She helps business owners communicate clearly and confidently, and that is done through the insights that she gains working with your business through the research that she does. And so she listened to this episode, which was an interview with Anne-Marie Wilshire. And she said, great discussion. 100% recommend Anne-Marie to anyone who wants to have more impact and engagement in meetings and presentations. So I'm going to put a link to that episode. It's an excellent episode, and I think you will love Anne-Marie. You'll also love the message, and you may want to go ahead and work with her if you're looking to have more impact and engagement in meetings and presentations too. And thank you, Suzanne Bell. Thank you so much for your review. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. I know that every podcaster says this, but it makes such a big difference to know that you are listening, that you enjoyed something, that you've taken something away. You can leave it on Apple Podcasts. That's the best place, or you can send us a direct message. As I said, you'll find us at Her Business on both Facebook and Instagram. And once again, on our website at herbusiness.com/353, you're going to find a summary of today's episode, links to other resources we've discussed. And if you are new to the show and you've just discovered us via this episode, I'm Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at Her Business. For decades now, we have helped women grow more sustainable, more profitable businesses. Please reach out if there's any way that we can support you, or head over to our website at herbusinessnetwork.com to learn more about our community. Thank you so much for listening. Today's episode topic is such an important one. I'm working very closely with women who are stepping more into the leadership role. And here's what I know, that there is so much about being a great leader that comes back to us. And I don't say that to put more weight on your shoulders, but for you to know that it's in your hands. The power is in your hands to create an incredible, sustainable business that enrolls other people to support you in growing that business. Ask questions, get involved, stay in touch. You're awesome. I'll see you next week right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.